Hi guys, this is Mrs. Mueller. I'm excited today to give you a lesson on measuring to the nearest inch and half inch. This is a ruler. It has two sides, inches and centimeters. We have to make sure when we're measuring the length of an object that we line that object up with a line right at the end of the ruler, even if it doesn't say 0. In between each whole number, just like a number line, right in the middle is half. So right here is half. There's no whole number here, so this is just half. This mark right here comes after the whole number 1, so this mark is 1 and a half. Before I actually measure the paper clip, I want to make an estimate of about how long I think that paper clip is in inches. And remember, when you make an estimate, it has to be reasonable. And if you don't have a ruler around and you're making an estimate, I want you to think about your finger, this part of your finger, as being about 1 inch. So go ahead and do that. And that is about 1 inch. So I think when I look at this part of my finger and I look at that paper clip, that paper clip is about 1 inch long. When I measure my paper clip, I want to make sure that I line it up properly. I want to line up this line here with the end of my paper clip, and I'm going to go all the way down and see where the other end of my paper clip stops. And it stops right about here. It's not at 1 inch, and this is 1.5 inches. It doesn't actually stop at 1.5 inches either. But when I look at this, I can tell that it ends closer to the 1 than it does to the 1.5. So we're going to say that this paper clip is 1 inch long. Okay, the next thing that we're going to measure is the glue stick. Remember, before we measure, we're going to make an estimate. And an estimate has to be reasonable. So if we think about our paper clip was just 1 inch long. So I know that my paper clip is smaller than my glue stick. Do you think it would be reasonable to say that my glue stick is 12 inches long? No, that would not be reasonable because my entire ruler is 12 inches long, and I can tell that my glue stick is smaller than 12 inches. So my estimate for this glue stick, remembering that this part of my finger is about 1 inch, is going to be 3 inches. So that is my estimate. And my estimate is going to be 3 inches. It's important when you are measuring that you label your number in whatever unit you're using to measure, because 3 inches is a lot different than 3 feet, which is also a lot different than 3 yards, and you will learn about those soon. All right, let's actually measure it. This time, I'm going to use my other ruler that has the 0 at the end. I'm not going to line this up with the end of the ruler. I'm going to line it up with the line that says 0. So I put the top of my glue stick here, and I go down to see where my glue stick ends. And my glue stick ends a little bit after the 3. It does not go very close to 3.5. This glue stick is closer to the number 3 than it is to the middle of 3 and 4, which is where 3.5 would be. So my estimate was correct. My glue stick is 3 inches long. All right, let's get ready to measure our pencil. This is the longest thing that we have measured so far. So I want you to think back. Our paper clip was 1 inch in length. My glue stick was 3 inches in length. How long do you think the pencil is? do you think 2 inches would be a good estimate? No, that's not reasonable, is it? Because my glue stick is 3 inches, and I know that my pencil is longer than 3 inches. So I'm going to say that my pencil is about 8 inches long. So my estimate is 8 inches. Again, do you see how I labeled it with the word inches? I have to label the unit of measure that I am using. All right, let's measure our pencil. This time I'm going to lay my pencil horizontal. And you can measure it either horizontally or vertically because you'll come up with the same answer. I'm going to line up the end of my ruler. I'm going to check that I'm on the inch side. Line it up at the end there, and then go over. And this time, my pencil ends right here. And that mark there is right in the middle of 7 and 8. What comes right in the middle of 7 and 8? Yes, 7.5. So this pencil is closest to 7.5 inches. 7.5 inches. So I've been telling you to make sure that you label with the word inches. Does anyone know the abbreviation for inches? It's IN, period. So when you are labeling your numbers and you're measuring with inches, I want you to make sure that you put either inches or the abbreviation for inches after your number.
Okay, let's do a quick review.
This is a ruler. It has 2 sides, inches and centimeters. We measured in inches today. We have to make sure we're measuring the length of an object, that we line that object up with a line right at the end of the ruler, even if it doesn't say 0. That's it for today on measuring to the nearest inch and half inch. If you do have a ruler at home, you can go around and try to measure some things. Before you measure them, try to give a good estimate, remember a reasonable estimate, of how long you think the item is before you actually measure it. And also remember in 3rd grade that we only measure to the nearest inch or half inch, so you can just say whatever it is closest to, either the closest inch or the closest half inch. Bye guys.